Israel's vaccine chief, Cyrille Cohen, is next to give evidence in the lockdown inquiry. Israel was said to lead the world as it rolled out the COVID vaccine with startling efficiency thanks to a deal with big pharma company Pfizer. But its jabs failed to be the silver bullet they were promised to be. By January 29th, Israel had given its trailblazing booster jabs to 65% of its population, while nearly 600,000 over 60s had received a fourth jab. But on that same day, the country topped the world for new COVID cases per capita, as they recorded 26,186 per million people. So, as the data proves vaccines fail to stop transmission, is it time for the world to accept that jabs are not the way to avoid future lockdowns? And does it also prove that policies like vaccine passports are not only morally wrong, but completely ineffective? Well, to try and answer some of these questions is world-renowned immunologist and the Israeli government's top vaccine advisor, Cyrille Cohen. And Cyrille, it's absolutely fascinating to have you here because, of course, Israel was thought to be a world leader in terms of rolling out the jab so quickly. But it didn't stop transmission at all, did it?
I think in the era of the... first of all, good evening, Dan.
Good
I think I think that in the era of the Omicron, it's no longer relevant. I mean, we do know that the potency of those vaccines in order to prevent transmission is very low. We have even data that show that, for the fourth dose, it can only prevent that by 30%. So I think that today we came to realize that there is a problem with basing the whole strategy only on these vaccines. But on the other hand, I want to maintain that vaccines are saving lives and are saving lives every day because vaccines can prevent severe disease. And today in Israel, if you compare people that did not get vaccinated to people that get vaccinated with 3 doses, you can see that you are 10 times less at risk to develop a severe disease if you are vaccinated with 3 doses.
But surely, Cyrille, that is only relevant for the vulnerable and the elderly.
Not necessarily. If you take the data of people below the age of 60, you will still see that there is a 3 to 4 times less risk to develop a severe disease if you are fully vaccinated, meaning 3 doses. So I think it's still relevant. The vaccine is saving lives, whether you are over the age of 60 or below the age of 60. But that's true that the proportion of people below the age of 60 at the era of the Omicron is lower than, of course, people over the age of 60.
But what about vaccine damage? Have you actually looked yet and compared the damage that vaccinating young people numerous times is doing in terms of conditions like myocarditis compared to COVID?
Yes, so basically we have compared that early on. We were actually the first country to report on myocarditis, and we were able to measure frequency of around 1 in 3,000 to 1 in 6,000, I would say, adolescents to the age of 25 that developed myocarditis. But still, if you compare that to the risk of developing a myocarditis because of the virus, not of the vaccine, it's still lower. So still, I think that at that time, it was the right call to make. Today, with the Omicron, I think that there is less incentive because it is causing less severe disease, especially in the young people, as I just said earlier. So there is less incentive, perhaps, to vaccinate or immunize kids between the age of 5 to 11. And one proof to that is the fact that in Israel, only 20 or 25% of the kids between the age of 5 to 11 actually got vaccinated.
Well, indeed. And you look at Florida Governor DeSantis, for example, who is now actively discouraging children being vaccinated. Do you think actually we need to move towards that path internationally? Because Pfizer, of course, is saying, no, we want to do the 4th jab for everyone.
I don't know if Pfizer is saying that they want to do the fourth jab for everyone. I don't know if this is the case. I can tell you that I would say in general, we have to think again how we're going to manage this pandemic, because COVID is not going anywhere. It's still around us. And if you ask me, I think that our vision should be to combine vaccines in order to prevent severe disease, especially for the more vulnerable people, using also treatment. But I think that also natural exposure will have its role to play in that, because we do know that there is some evidences that I don't want to say natural immunity.
Herd immunity, come on, say it. Herd immunity. It's that great phrase. It's what we want, right? Hallelujah, herd immunity.
Yes, but I want to say that I'm not encouraging anyone to get, exposed on purpose. What I'm saying is that...
But it's sort of impossible to avoid, isn't it? Just let me tell you what the Pfizer CEO, Albert Bourla, said. This was on Sunday to CBS. He said, right now, the way that we have seen, it is necessary, a fourth booster right now. Based on the evidence that you've seen in Israel, do you agree with that?
I don't know to whom. To whom you will administer this fourth dose. What we have, the data we have right now is that a fourth dose for the most vulnerable people can reduce the risk by 3 to 4 times of severe disease. But for younger people right now, I don't think that there is a real incentive to go and give a fourth dose, especially that this vaccine is based on the, I would say, older strain of the virus.
Cyrille, 2 other quick points I wanted to raise with you. Number one, you must now concede that vaccine passports or green passes, as you called them in Israel, they are completely nonsense, aren't they? No country should be using vaccine passports. They're pointless.
Yes, I think that at the era of the Omicron, it's no longer relevant. The point is that you see even countries that have adopted a zero COVID policy, like Hong Kong, are now struggling against COVID. So unless you have a very, very strong policy,
Yeah, well, I'm glad we agree with that. And finally, do you concede that we, all across the world, I know you did in Israel, we did in the UK, we were wrong to shut down schools, to stop children being educated over the course of the pandemic?
Yes, that I fully agree. I was even, at the Israeli parliament trying to argue for leaving schools open, I'm saying in September 2020. I think that we should have made more efforts to keep our kids at school, even split classrooms, using air purifiers, all that stuff. And I'm not saying that kids are not getting infected by the virus, but I think that there was a tough price to pay in, using Zoom and not sending our kids to school.
No, I think it was shameful. Well, look, I'm glad that we agree on that. That was head of immunology at Bar-Ilan University and member of the Israeli government's advisory committee for vaccines, one of the vaccine geniuses in Israel, Cyrille Cohen. But we're coming to some agreement there.